What is up, college sports fans, fellow members of Mountaineer Nation? This is Coos, and I'm coming to you once again from the hills of wild and wonderful West Virginia. And this is Coos' Corner. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to tell you in this video why Neal Brown is officially on the hot seat. And I have proof. But first, I'd like to ask, if you haven't yet, please hit the red subscribe button. It's absolutely free to do so. It just gives you easier access to my videos. I try to put out college sports videos almost every day. If you like what you hear in this video, give me that thumbs up button. Leave comments in the comment section. Let me know what you think about Neal Brown so far. Do you think he's on the hot seat? Let's get on. Oh, and by the way, guys, I'm now a member of the Coast to Coast College Football Network. Please be on the lookout for us on Facebook. So let's get on with the show. Neal Brown's on the hot seat. I don't think it's going out on much of a limb to say that, and here's why. For the first time since Neal Brown has been at West Virginia, the media are finally starting to hold him accountable. They're finally starting to write articles questioning his success in Morgantown, or lack thereof, questioning some of the development of players at certain positions, and why they haven't gotten better over a 3-year period, things like that. And West Virginia's media, for those of you who most Mountaineer fans probably know this, but those of you who may not be Mountaineer fans, West Virginia's media that covers West Virginia Mountaineers are typically very positive. They typically don't like to be negative on coaches and things like that. But they are coming out now and starting to ask questions. When and how are things going to change, because they need to change. They're starting to hold him accountable. And to me, when that starts happening, I think that's when really the pressure is going to start getting put on the administration to hold him accountable. Now, the reason I can say this, and this is not just me saying this, there's reliable, credible West Virginia media members coming out now and writing articles about Coach Brown's success or lack thereof, and what he and holding him accountable for not doing better in his first 3 years. And there's even former players now coming out publicly on Twitter and Facebook, social media, talking about how things need to change. And I'm going to give you some examples. First of all, Bob Hartzell, veteran writer, has covered West Virginia for years for the Times West Virginian. He put out an article after the bowl game, and I'll put a link to these articles in the description box. But he says, basically, Neal Brown come out after the game in his post-game press conference and said, we just weren't good enough today. Well, Bob Hartzell, according to his article, and I agree with him, it's time that we stop hearing that, and he becomes good enough. The team needs to become good enough. We've heard that after multiple games, especially the Oklahoma State and the Minnesota game. And it's the fan base is tired of hearing it, and now I think the media members are tired of hearing it. They want progress. Bob Hartzell pointed out in his article that Coach Brown is 17-18 in his tenure at West Virginia. Of those 17 wins, only 5 have come against teams who ended the season with winning records, and only 3 of those 5 were against Big 12 competition. What's making matters worse is you go right up this road to our biggest rival, Pitt. They just won the ACC while West Virginia's struggling. You go about 200 miles west, you've got Cincinnati, who's in the college football playoff, yet West Virginia's struggling. It just doesn't sit well with the fan base, and now it's not sitting well with the media either. First couple years, Coach Brown could use the explanation of youth, and he was pretty much right. We were a young team, but he can no longer use that as an explanation. Going into 2022, this is going to be a veteran team. There's a lot of guys coming back from this year's team, so there are no longer any excuses that are viable and that he can use to justify not winning games. And then also, Bob points out that changes need to be made and improvements need to be made at the quarterback position. Jarrett Daggy has just not been consistent, and then before him, Austin Kendall was not consistent. That's the 2 quarterbacks that Coach Brown has had since he's been here, and it's just not been good. At least not over. It's been good in moments, but not over a consistent period of time. And Hartzell points that out in his article. Now, another article that I found was Skylar Callahan, who writes for SI.com. He made some good points in his article, and he was even a little bit more. I don't want to say scathing. Scathing's too strong of a word, but he was even a little bit more. He was holding Coach Brown accountable probably to an even higher degree than what Hartzell was in his article. because he actually went on. He actually talked about changes need to be made on the staff. Some of the points in his article, the bowl game was a reminder that the team has made very little progress in 3 years. He went on to say that it's definitely not climbing at this point. I think the trust to climb mantra has pretty much dead at this point. I think it needs to go away. And according to Skylar, and I totally agree with this, if you guys watch my post-game reaction video, I said, to me, next year it's 8 wins or bust. 8 wins is minimum. And Skylar Callahan says the same thing. Skylar went on to say that the offensive line is not making strides like they should have, which I totally agree with. He also mentioned the inconsistent quarterback play, which I totally agree with. He pointed out the poor clock management that has existed ever since Brown's been our coach. And all of these issues have been around since he got here. It's been 3 seasons. Now we know the 2019 season, he just came in right after recruiting cycle, so really all he could do was just try to hold everything together and play with Holgerson's recruits. 2020 was a COVID year. That was a little tough. But 2021, there were really no viable excuses in my opinion. We should have been better than 6 and 7. 2022, got to prove himself. Skylar went on to say that Shane Lyons, the AD, needs to move on from Brown if these trends continue. And I totally agree with that. And like I said, this is coming from a Coach Brown guy. I have been screaming from the hilltops that Coach Brown is the guy to lead this program. But it's time to put up or shut up, so to speak. Skylar went on to say that staff changes need to be made on the offensive side of the ball, which I totally agree with, and I mentioned that in my post-game video. I've said it for a while now. The offense is just not getting better. Defensively, I think we're in good shape defensively. I like our staff. I like the progress they've made. They've performed well over the last 2 seasons. Even considering some of the pieces they lost coming into this year, they still performed pretty well. So I think everything on the defensive side needs to remain the same. But offensively, there's got to be some changes made, in my opinion. And then Skylar also went on to say that, he pointed out about Lady Brown. Lady Brown ran for, I think it was 1,065 yards or something in 2020 in only 10 games. 2021, behind basically the same offensive line, he ran for 1,020 yards or something, somewhere in that ballpark, in 12 games. He played 2 more games and had less yards. And I don't put that on, and I don't think that goes on Letty. And Skylar pointed out in his article. I think it goes to offensive line play and to the fact that Coach Brown got away from the running game too much and was married to the pass game. Both of those articles by two veteran, very well-respected writers that cover West Virginia sports are now holding Coach Brown and his staff accountable. Now, and not only are members of the media now starting to hold Coach Brown accountable, you've got former players now that are speaking out publicly about the performance of the team and some of the decisions being made. For example, former defensive back Terrell Chestnut played under Dana Holgerson. Very good Mountaineer, very tough, hard-nosed player. He put out a tweet during the game. It said, "This is painful to watch. 0 protection, 0 pocket awareness, and 0 blitz recognition." And then underneath his tweet, I guess it was a fan by the name of Michael Taylor, basically asked him, "Is Neal Brown the answer? Have you seen anything in his game planning or game management that makes you feel good about the future?" Terrell Chestnut's response was, "Recruiting was good. Naturally, I want to see him succeed because I love West Virginia. But something has to change between now and next year." So now you've got former players speaking out. And even, to me, even more significant than that one, you've got former West Virginia superstar and former NFL player Aaron Beasley. This guy holds the interception record at West Virginia. He says, and I quote, this is on Twitter, @WVU Football, "All y'all got to do is invite me down. I do know a little bit," in quotation marks, "about football, recruiting, leadership, schemes, turnovers, love of the game. I'm here for you. Don't be shy. Because what I just watched last night, no comment." Now, obviously, that was put out the day after the game. So now you've got not only the media members starting to question Coach Brown and his ability to get things done, but now you've got former players. Now, that's a big deal. And now I've seen posts on Facebook where fans are debating whether to renew their season tickets for next year So if it starts hitting the pocketbook and the program starts losing money, I think that the administration won't have a choice but to make some kind of change. Fans don't want to see. I mean, we've had 2 losing seasons in 3 years under Coach Brown, and I just don't think that's just not good enough. Now, Coach Brown's buyout's pretty hefty, so if they fired him after next season, I think the buyout's around $20 million. If somebody has that exact number, feel free to post in the comments. But I think we have to expect more as a fan base and as a team and as a state. These are our beloved Mountaineers. We want them to do well. And Coach Brown said it himself after one game. He said, look, we're in the entertainment business, and the product we're putting out there right now is not good. So it's got to get better, and I totally agree. Well, guys, let me know in the comment section what you think about Coach Brown. Let me know if you think he should be on the hot seat. Let me know what your win expectations are for next year. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to share it with your friends. Don't forget to be on the lookout for the Coast to Coast College Football Network. Thank you for tuning in. Q Country Roads.